Welcome back to the Knife Life. Today we're talking with Thayne Alexander and Karambit about their new knife collaboration. We're going to be talking about why this knife is designed the way it is, what its purpose is, and where you can get one. So without further ado, let's get into it. Thanks for joining me today, guys.
It's a pleasure.
So, if you guys don't know Greg, we had an interview that we did a little while ago. So go ahead and check out that interview if you want to know a little bit more about his background. It's very interesting. We haven't talked to Thayne before, though. So, Thayne, can you give us a little bit of your background in your knife experience?
So yes, I've been a practitioner of martial blade concepts since 2003. I have been a full instructor under the system since 2013. Also, I've been dealing with a lot of the Southeast Asian arts of Kali and Eskrima and a lot of the blade work they've done with that.
Excellent. So, now that we've gotten that out of the way, what exactly is this knife we're sitting here talking about today?
Sure, I'm happy to explain it. Basically, what I have here is called the Paratus. Okay, the Paratus in Latin means to be prepared for anything or ready for anything. This is a Wharncliffe style knife. Basically, it is a double-bladed, double-edged knife. It does have a very kind of curved handle to it, a lot of grooves here from my own hand. I kind of modeled it off of my own hand. The reason for it is I think the Wharncliffe style is probably the most efficient knife out there. Of course, that's the reason why a lot of box cutters are so popular and why it cuts so well. I also wanted to add a back edge to it, and I think that's the most defining feature with this Wharncliffe knife. I was approached by Greg to basically just come up with a knife design of my own, and I drew this up with him, and basically we collaborated about some of the features on it, and Greg has made a perfect knife that's pretty much exactly what I wanted and with the specs that I wanted.
So Greg, your nickname is the Karambit Maker. So this is slightly different. So moving into Wharncliffe's obviously not a Karambit. So what inspired you to go talk to Thayne about doing a knife together?
Long story short is in 2007-8, first time probably I met Michael Janisch. Then few years later I just started to take opportunity to just train under him, and just going on for his seminars. And thanks to him, I just figure out exactly what kind, the Wharncliffe blade is, what is his, the power, how you can use it. So from time to time, I just go to the grinder, makes kind of, the Karambit, but also the Wharncliffe blades. And a couple months ago, I just reached out to the Thayne, and I did an offer to him. Let you design some kind of blade. I didn't expect exactly this, but let you design something and I will make it for you. Couple days later, he's back to me with very simple draw. I take a look, print out, pour it on the piece of the steel, grind out, and that is the final product.
What materials did you start with in the construction of this?
Okay, so for this one, I use the steel 5200, and it's the heat treated to the 59 Rockwell. The handle scale is coarse G10, the black with the red liners, and screw. I use the 2 screws. So it has double hollow grind, the main bevel and top one, and Kydex sheets. It just works perfectly for this kind of knives.
So Thayne, what led to this particular design taking shape? So what is this knife explicitly supposed to do? What was it designed for?
Sure. Originally, I basically just wanted a knife that would fit me and my style best, and the way I like to use a knife. Okay, basically I have some just some different habits and stuff that and uses with a back edge and that kind of thing, more, a little bit more than other people, I guess. I really wanted something in a Wharncliffe style just because of the efficiency of the Wharncliffe. We don't need to, we all talked about that before. But I wanted something that was basically can be used for pretty much anything, right? So if you're looking at, say like a self-defense knife, you have the Wharncliffe style for the most effective cutting techniques. But I also wanted it to be something that if it can basically favor somebody who likes a forward grip, type hold, or it can be used as a reverse grip really well. But I also wanted to make it because of the back edge, because some people also like, using it as a call, that type of reverse grip type action. So it has the function of pretty much every type of use of a knife for a defensive standpoint. But the other reason is actually quite utilitarian as well. And I know, because it's a box cutter, I can cut boxes and rope really well with it. But with the back edge, with the way I like to grip and use a knife, per se, basically I kind of like to use this articulation of my wrist for any type of cuts. So like say I have rope or a piece of string, I like to be able to come in here and just kind of use this action here to make a cut, to cut, instead of having to turn my wrist. Maybe it's maybe I'm being a little lazy or whatever, but basically I find it a lot more efficient. I like doing things and making things that are a lot more efficient in my mind, in the way I do things. So like, I could cut rope this way. Maybe I have a package and I want to cut with the back edge and just use that instead of having to turn my wrist, Maybe it also could be used for particularly somebody who has arthritis. Maybe they can't make this motion with the wrist very well. And that it might work better just for them to make a simple, a simple articulation from a back, standpoint to cut. So it has that functionality as well. If you want, you can take a fruit or whatever and do that. Or if you want to carve something, it's pretty easy to do that as well. In one of the moves we use for an NBC, basically we have a thing called a push-pull cruzado, where we actually turn the knife over and use the true edge. Again, we have this articulation of the wrist. Well, sometimes I'm kind of wanting to be a little bit more efficient. What if I wanted to parry and basically just cut again this way, so then I can facilitate a forward cut faster? That's the way I kind of like to look at it. So it has a lot of functionality as a self-defense knife, and quite a bit utility.
So Greg, whenever somebody hands me a sketch initially, as a knife maker, I want to go through and take a look at things and say, okay, this could use a little bit of tweaking, this could use a little bit of modification here, and suggest it back to the client. And there's usually a bit of a back and forth. What did that process look like with Thayne?
With this particular knife, it was pretty simple.
Okay.
He gave me pretty simple, the draw. I printed, and when I went to the grinder, I just start, the grind up to the lines. I do that to the hands. I feel okay. I did two of them because, like, for my hands, this particular which I went to the Thayne was just a little too big. So the same time I did both of them. Other one was like a little bit, shorter, which just works much better for my size of my hands. But the rest, the size of the blade and grinds, everything was exactly the same. So from the early beginning, I just have the feeling like, okay, this knife will cut. So I didn't change anything, from original, the design of Thayne. So it was pretty simple, pretty easy, and that gave me, kind of room to work, because I didn't have that pressure even to call him and then we have to change something, right? And explain him why. So I did like perfect, version of his dream knife.
One thing that's rather interesting is that you don't have any jimping on the back here, so that's rather unusual. A lot of combat knives and just utilitarian knives in general have this thing for jimping. They love jimping. Almost everybody has jimping. This one does not for whatever reason. So what's the reasoning behind the lack of jimping there, just out of curiosity?
Basically, I think that jimping is great. I just think that I just didn't really ask for it at the time. I think the next variation of this will have jimping. I just didn't put it on that one. It's a pretty simple answer. I was just kind of more concerned about getting the look right and the certain efficiency. I just didn't add that in at that time. So there will be a couple others that I'd like to put together so that we can just make some small modifications to it, like jimping there. It does have really good jimping here on the back end, which is really nice. It's perfect for gripping for the thumb if you like the reverse grip. But yeah, that's a feature that will be added in the other ones in the future.
All right. So obviously there's just 2 of them at this point in existence. So what are you looking for in terms of scaling up? Are these going to just be limited runs that you're hand making? Are you looking at getting this out to a larger producer potentially in the future? What are your plans for this knife?
So my time as the time that I spend in my knife shop is very limited, right? And I still keep focused on making karambits and pitons, all this kind of stuff. So, but since the Thayne designed that knife and looks like pretty good the design, so I think we will able to make more of them. When? I don't know. We will just try make some of them as soon we back home and just start work on it. Probably takes maybe 3-4 weeks before they go for the heat treating. So I hope in the next 7-8 weeks I will be able to put on the table some new knives.
So what are you looking for roughly in the price market for this?
I'm not ready for answer for this.
Undecided.
We did like prototype, right? And we use the steel what we use like a 5200, which is pretty good, steel for this kind of knives. I have to talk to Thayne about just if we will be able to upgrade, for more, the higher standard, the steel. We have to, if we will be able to make, some, the changes for like handle grips, all this kind of stuff, guiders. The ball price is supposed to be between like $250, $300, like at this point, but it's very hard to say what will be on the end.
And also just one I want to mention too, I think we were also talking about possibly changing my handle, because I have a larger hand. Basically the handle is a little longer for my needs. Greg is also probably very accommodative to other people if they want to have a shorter handle, or maybe we could put the measurements and stuff so people can get an idea.
So we can customize, for the bigger and smaller hands if it will be necessary.
Excellent. So obviously this is the first prototype. Just based upon this, what improvements are you thinking about adding into this knife in future so that when it comes out and becomes available, what additional things or improved things can people expect to see on this knife, if you've been able to determine that at this point?
The first one probably would be obviously the jimping. I want to add something there. Maybe just kind of round this off a little bit, just little things. Again, talking about the length of the knife. Maybe the handle might be just too big for some people, or long, I guess. Greg also mentioned something about the tip.
Yeah, this is we see that tip is up to the sharp up to the point. So for some application can be maybe not enough, the strength. So probably I will be able to reinforce that tip for any the stabbing, or pushing, use the knife, avoid any breaks in the future. Probably I will change a little bit geometry of the tip.
So for the people interested in obtaining these, how do they reach out to you guys in order to bug you guys into making sure that these end up happening?
So if someone wants to reach me directly, the same go up to my Facebook page, Karambit Maker, or Instagram. Or I think the good place also be?
I have an Instagram site called Active Defense Systems by Thayne Alexander, so you can reach out for me through there. I also have activedefensesystems@gmail.com as well.
And I'll be sure to put links in the description down below for all of those that they just listed so that you'll be able to find them easily. So, excellent. Thank you very much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Thanks, Thayne.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for joining us again on The Knife Life. If you enjoyed this, please consider liking and subscribing. We always need help growing the channel so that we can bring people in like these guys so we can get you interesting content so that you can learn more and see more about what's coming out in the knife world. As always, thanks for joining us and keep living the knife life.